Welcome, beautiful souls, to another episode of Pain to Power, empowering you to heal from trauma, loss, and emotional wounds. Today's guest is Sarah Dawkins, a holistic health coach, keynote speaker, and author with over 20 years of experience as a registered nurse. Sarah's personal healing journey from chronic illness and emotional despair led her to leave the conventional medical role model behind and embrace natural self-healing approaches. She empowers people to uncover and address the root causes of their health challenges through integrative mind-body-spirit methods. Sarah is the author of the inspiring book, Heal Yourself, featuring over 70 real-life healing stories, and hosts the popular Heal Yourself with Sarah Dawkins podcast. Her mission is to help others reclaim their vitality and live fully by trusting the body's innate ability to heal. Welcome, Sarah Dawkins.
Thank you, Jill. That was a fabulous introduction.
Well, I'm glad. What inspired your shift from nursing to holistic health coaching?
Well, that was a journey. While we moved to America from the UK to experience life out there, and we went forever with green cards. And I was literally 4 years post-qualifying, working in America, and one of my nurse colleagues questioned my use of pharmaceuticals at home, which shocked me because that's all I knew. My mum was a nurse, so I was raised in that medical model. When you're sick, you go to the doctors, you get a diagnosis and a pill, and you heal, in air quotes, as if that was my belief. So because she challenged me, I went home and started researching on the internet, reading books, reading literature, doing what I could to find out, why would she say something like that? What prompted that? And if I'm not using pharmaceuticals, what else is there? What should I be doing? So I started down this rabbit hole of natural self-healing, found people who've healed a whole range of different things. But being raised in that medical model, I only looked at the physical things that I could do because my view was still very limited. So I started working with nutrition, hydration, sleep, and exercise. And in making those small tweaks, I healed acid reflux, eczema, and psoriasis in about a month. So now I'm seeing tangible results because I wasn't sure if I actually believed what I was reading. I've seen what we do in the hospital, and I'm reading about people who've healed, but I don't know these people, thinking, is this really true? So after I started seeing the tangible results in myself, I'm like, well, maybe there is something in that. Maybe I can do more. Maybe I can heal, because I had other chronic health problems. So that kick-started my journey, but I still stayed a nurse because that's who I identified as, Sarah the nurse. And that's all I ever wanted to be. But then as the years went on, and the more healing that I did, and the more chronic illnesses and health problems I healed, I was really struggling to live those two lives as nurse with doctors and pills and patients going through procedures at work versus at home, living a more healthier lifestyle with natural supplements, changing the way I ate a little bit, and seeing more tangible results in my own healing. So after a long dark night of the soul, I went through 3 years of a dark depression and became suicidal because I was so conflicted in my living those two lives separately. I thought, I just cannot stay in the hospital doing what I'm doing. So that led me to stepping outside. But I became a nurse entrepreneur because I was still Sarah the nurse. I couldn't shift out of that identity. So when I stepped outside the hospital and became an entrepreneur, I started subcontracting for big companies, doing clinical work, not clinical work, doing medical and legal work, doing DNA work, and doing training for mandatory updates in hospitals and care homes. But I was no longer in that actual hospital with the patients giving out the pills. So that helped me be more aligned with who I was becoming, but I was still a registered nurse, and I had to sign that register every year. And it was in 2016, I thought, I need to train it as a coach to help people to understand what I have now come to understand as a different way of living, a different way of seeing the world, and actually truly understanding healing. So it was through my training as a coach that I truly felt aligned with the work that I feel that I'm here to do.
Isn't it so nice when you get to that point where you truly feel like you're living your purpose?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So how do you define transformative wellness and why is it central to your work?
For me, transformative wellness it's a holistic approach. That's why I run with the holistic health coach. It's mind, body, soul. And to have that transformation, we have to incorporate everything because we are a holistic being. We're not just a mind or a body or a soul. We are all three together. And if you look at Western medicine, they've separated us out even further. So we've got a cardiologist, a pulmonologist, a dermatologist, an oncologist, a hematologist. And all our systems and organs are all separated out. But we're not separate. Every part of us is connected to every other part. Every system is intertwined. And we cannot just pull it out and separate out. Go, let me look at your heart. Well, my heart impacts my gut, impacts my lungs, impacts my brain, impacts my bowels. We can't just pull out and look at one aspect. So for me to help people to transform their wellness into who they are here to be, to enjoy the joy in their life and become the confident person that they dreamed that they would be, I work with their mind and body and soul together holistically.
I totally agree with everything that you've said. You know, it's funny when you talk about the body being whole, and I'm sure that our listeners can agree with this. Like, you ever have like a like an itch on one side of your body and you have a little pain on the other at the same time? That just kind of shows you that everything is all connected. It's not separate. So why they think they have to, farm it out to different doctors, actually I know why, because it's a big money maker. Yeah, I think that we are, like you said, all connected. So can you share some powerful self-healing stories from your book, Heal Yourself?
Yes. One that I really love to share because it's quite profound is multiple sclerosis. And the healer in my book was in a wheelchair. He got to the point where he was in a wheelchair, he was very weak. And his brother took him to a doctor's appointment. And they saw the doctor go on Google and look for treatments for multiple sclerosis. And they both had this breakthrough going, wow, if the doctor can do that, so can we. So they went away and started. They'd also read the book, The Secret, about mindset manifestation. So they started looking at what they were eating, and he went to the gym and started initially just on a static cycle. He said his legs were burning, really burning with the pain. But he said he kept on because he understood how powerful his mind was. And now he's a successful business owner, bodybuilder. He's huge. His body is huge. He's married. He's had children. And his latest MRI to check the multiple sclerosis lesions in his brain has shown us not a single lesion in his brain. He has totally healed all those lesions.
That's incredible.
Yes. Yeah. And that's so powerful because it's just the simple use of the internet to find the information. And if the doctor's doing that, if he's had all that training, and he's still going on the internet going, what can I do for multiple sclerosis? He's like, well, I can do that.
Yeah, so and it doesn't cost you $1 million.
Exactly, especially in America.
Yeah. What advice do you have for people struggling with chronic health issues that feel like they're stuck?
Yeah, and I was one of those with eczema, psoriasis, chronic joint pain, PTSD, and then depression that went on for 3 years. So I feel you, I see you, I hear you. And for a lot of people, that's all they need is to be felt, seen, and heard without being judged, without people offering their opinions, without people trying to fix them in air quotes because they don't need fixing. So if you feel stuck, ask yourself, and this can be challenging and triggering, how am I benefiting from my symptoms? Because our symptoms come from our subconscious mind, unless there's a trauma, obviously. But our symptoms, chronic fatigue, joint pains, skin problems, our subconscious mind is throwing those symptoms out as messages. And it's trying to speak to us through our symptoms. And it's up to us to decipher those messages. And this is the work I do with clients. What's the message that your body's trying to say? Let's not take a pill and quieten those symptoms. Let's sit with them and really feel them and hear them. Because sometimes it's saying, I'm tired and I don't want to go to that family get together. I don't want to have to do that. I don't want to be responsible for that. And the pain is just a way of saying, I feel burdened. My body's burdened. And the other thing to look at is the emotion, because emotion is energy in motion. But that energy gets stuck in our body, and that is also causing us symptoms. So what energy do we need to get moving again? And what do we need to release? So it's a case of sitting with the symptom and listening to it and asking our body, what is it that I need? What is it? What that pain in my hip, in my knee, in my arm, what is it trying to say to me? What does it need? And try to evaluate.
Would you say sometimes it's something that you need, but would you also say that sometimes it's something you need to release? Like sometimes we're eating something that's not serving our bodies, and it's causing, it's causing a symptom. And I've found this in my own life, that when I am eating foods that are not serving me, like I have a fondness for, sweets sometimes, or dairy, which I try to keep dairy out of my diet mostly. But when I do indulge, I find that I get muscle aches in my legs, right? Because dairy is inflammatory. So what are the main things that you would say are most destructive to the body?
Our past. Our unhealed past sits in our body. And things like arthritis, osteoarthritis, and joint pains, even if there's no arthritis there, and bowel problems and skin problems and headaches and migraines can all be symptoms of us holding on to something. And if we can understand what we're holding on to, and work with that, and then release it, our symptoms will literally vanish. And speaking from experience, I understood that I was holding on to my parents' divorce when I was very young. It was not a happy marriage. And I felt that in my body for a long time. I expressed it as skin problems and bowel problems. And it's a case of, not everybody can get to a place of forgiveness, and people need to know that's okay, because everybody talks about it. We've all got to forgive everybody. Well, not everybody can get to that place. But if we can look back to our past and acknowledge that what's happened has happened, because we can't change our past, but we can acknowledge it's happened. And then if we can come to a place of acceptance, they said and did what they did to me, with the skills and knowledge they had at the time. And what was their childhood like? How were they raised? And are they just perpetuating their family's patterns? And now it's come down to me. And now I'm holding that in my body. So if we can come to a place of acknowledging and then accepting what's happened, to be able to either come to a place of looking back and feeling neutral about it, because we understand that they didn't set out to hurt us. They just didn't said what they didn't said from the place of the knowledge and skills they had at the time. And it's possible they might not be self-aware to be able to reflect on that, on how we held that and the trauma it caused us, because they have to acknowledge that it's probably caused them trauma from their childhood, and that's what they're holding, and they're just perpetuating those patterns. So if we can bring ourselves to accept that that's happened to us, and they didn't do it to hurt us, they did it to try and chubby us on, jolly us up, or help us to fit into society, or help us to be accepted, then we can accept that it wasn't done to hurt us. There was no malicious intent there.
I
And
love
that
that.
for a lot of things, but not everything, obviously.
Obviously, there are some issues that are physical that come from our past and our conditioning and our subconscious, but there are things that our environment has an impact on the way that we think, feel, because our gut, when we're eating foods that are not serving us, our gut will put off the wrong kind of signals to our brain. And so we have the gut-brain connection. So what kind of foods would you say are the most damaging to that gut-brain connection?
It's slightly different for everybody based on our genetic makeup. So for me personally, I've done a hair sample and I know that I struggle with gluten, and it showed some dairy, but not, it was more of a sensitivity rather than an allergy. So for about 20 years, I cut out gluten and dairy, and that was how I healed the acid reflux and the eczema and psoriasis, by just cutting out gluten and dairy and exercising a little bit more and de-stressing. But not everybody struggles with that. And I've found that I can now eat a bit of gluten and a lot more dairy than I ever did, because I hadn't eaten it for so long. So I've allowed my gut to heal. So I'm a lot more tolerant now, although I still get a few symptoms, nothing like what I ever had before. But I'm also very wary to not eat those, because I know they do cause me symptoms. So I don't eat them every day. So I would say, listen to your body and see how you react. Because another thing I learned last year, when my husband struggled with histamine intolerance, I wasn't even aware of, neither of us were aware of it. And what we realized is that sometimes we'll eat foods and notice that we develop all this mucus within literally a few minutes. We don't have to wait long, and our nose will run and we'll be a bit phlegmy and just coughing. And for me, pork does that. For him, it's slightly different. Some days it does and sometimes it doesn't. But for me, when I eat pork, I always make mucus. So it's a histamine intolerance. So it's just an understanding of what happens when you eat certain foods. What symptoms? Do you have gas? Do you have bowel problems? Do you sweat? Do you have a runny nose? Do you have mucus? Do you find that if you keep eating that food, your skin itches and then you develop a rash? Does it give you a migraine? Does it cause you to run to the bathroom? We all need to just take that moment and really check in when we've eaten something. How does my body feel? Is this something that feels slightly off? Do I now have a symptom that I didn't have before I ate this food? And check in. But as you say, gluten and dairy are the two biggest. Sugar is also up there with gluten and dairy. And a lot of people are coming on board more and more now with seed oils. That's your cottonseed, your canola, your sunflower oil, grapeseed oil. All the oils that come from seeds are high in omega-6, and omega-6 causes inflammation. And these there's not a lot of oil in seeds, so they need a lot of seeds to make the oil, and they're washed in hexane. Hexane is just above octane. Octane is petrol. So all these seeds are washed in a petrol-like solution. It cannot all be extracted. So when you're using those seed oils, or vegetable oils as people call them, know that they are highly, highly processed and control this petroleum compound.
Interesting. I do, and I do use grapeseed oil because one of my professors I took exercise science, and my professor in the nutrition class that I took, he said that grapeseed oil was one of the best oils that you could use. And now I do use one that says non-GMO. Are they still washed in that type of a
Hexane.
hexane? Okay.
Yeah.
That's maybe something that I should revisit.
So the only oils I would recommend are coconut oil and olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. And both of those oils come from the pulp of the fruit of the plant, whereas seed oils come from the seeds. And there's not a lot of oil in seeds. And
avocado oil is not on your list?
Avocado oil would be, first of all, I would recommend saturated fat, so fat from an animal, then coconut oil and extra virgin olive oil together. They're both really good oils. And then under that, I would go to avocado oil.
Okay. So what practices or daily habits do you recommend for vibrant health and wellness?
I would say get outside in nature every day. Walking is the most underutilized exercise. And for the majority of people, we can all walk. If you can walk out in green space, you've got all those beautiful negative ions. You've got the beauty of the surroundings around you. You've got the wonderful smells of nature. And if you can, take your shoes and socks off and get your feet on the ground and really ground yourself. And that experience in itself is just so good for health. It clears the mind. The walking is great exercise for the whole body and the mind. And nature nourishes our soul.
Oh, absolutely. I walk every day, even so I'm in New England, so we get cold here. So sometimes in the winter, it can get to be like, 10 degrees. And I still go out for a walk and I gear up. I have a neoprene face mask because my nose is a little pointy. It gets cold on the end. But I put on a neoprene face mask, a nice warm jacket, and I put things on my shoes so I don't slip. But I really feel the need to be outside every day, smelling the fresh air. And honestly, I am rarely ever sick. I can't remember the last time I'd been sick, and I really attribute it to the fact that I get outside every day. I exercise every day. I meditate on a daily basis. And I think those are the practices that help me along the way.
Yeah. And just to talk about meditation as well, a lot of people, and me included when I first started it, thought of meditation as cross-legged, with the mudras in your fingers and the om. But actually we can meditate being mindful when we're out in nature walking, just being in that moment, in that space. So as a meditation practice, you can use being outside in nature, as well as sitting quiet and peacefully wherever you choose. It's about your mind, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's about giving your mind the space to just be, because we have so much coming at us from all different directions, the pinging on the phone, the dinging on the computer of your emails. It feels like it's constant barragement of outside sources. And if we just allow ourselves some moments of peace during the day, it gives us that capability to be more present and competent for those that we serve.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And it's so easy to do as well.
Yeah. What future projects or directions excite you for your platform in this message?
I am in the process of writing a second book.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's about people's perceptions of empathy. And it stemmed from a conversation I had with my husband last year, because it transpired that we both saw empathy as something totally different. I'm like, well, if we see it so different from each other, how do other people see it? I mean, we can read about what it is on the internet. Empathy is blah, blah, blah. But then it's like the different forms of empathy. There's quite a few. And then there's quite a few more that other people, how they see it, how they define it. And so I thought it's a great subject. And actually, if I can get people talking about empathy and bring more empathy into the world around us, it can only help make the world a better place.
Absolutely. I am an empath, so I feel and take on other people's feelings a lot. And sometimes it gets overwhelming in a crowded room. It can be overwhelming at times. But I think empathy is a very good topic to get into with people, to have people understand. We're all empaths, and some people are just more sensitive than others. So I think that's a really good topic to bring out into the open. And where can people find you and find out more about you?
Thank you. If you go to my website, www.sarahdawkins.com, my books, my podcast, my socials, my email, everything's on there.
Wonderful. Well, I am so grateful for your time today, for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge. And I look forward to connecting with you more again in the future.
Thank you, Jill. I appreciate your time too.
Thank you. If today's conversation spoke to you, please take a moment to like this episode, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who could use a little more health and healing in their life. Your support helps me keep creating meaningful conversations like this one, and make sure you don't miss any of the empowering content we have coming up. Until next time, stay open, stay loving, and stay empowered.